Good morning and welcome to Etihad Cargo Connections. I'm your host, Ron Anderson, and today I'm joined by one of the best to ever saddle a horse and two-time winner of the Kentucky Derby, Doug O'Neill. Welcome, Doug. How are we this morning, mate?
Fantastic. I love being on. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, mate. So we'll just start at the start. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Yeah, I was born in Dearborn, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. And um, yeah, my dad, Pat, who has since passed, loved going to the races. And that kind of got me exposed to this great sport of horse racing.
And just speaking with other Americans, who've gone on to bigger and better things as well in the ilk of, people that look up to yourself, such as, Chad Summers of the worlds and those kinds of guys. Were there many horses and much horse racing up north in Michigan?
Yeah, there was at the time. This is back in the late 70s, early 80s. And uh, the great Jack Van Berg, he cut his teeth there in the Midwest and Michigan racing and Nebraska. Um, so yeah, the Midwest was especially in Michigan was pretty strong and flat racing at the time, and they've since have kind of shrunk up. But we moved to California at when I was 10 years old, and um, literally the first weekend in California, I went to Santa Anita, and it's kind of like that's um, going to your first major league ball game or something. It was pretty incredible, and the likes of Bill Shoemaker and Lafitte Pincay and all the legendary jockeys were riding at that time, and so I've had a love for the sport through uh, being taken out by my dad, and then I just fell in love with it myself, moving out to California.
And, starting with going to the races with your dad, how did you get involved with horses and horse racing from there?
In went to school in Santa Monica, California, and one of my basketball coaches and mentors, a gentleman named Mike Amadei, had overheard me saying how much I loved horse racing, and he thought it was such a rare thing for him to hear here in California. And he had a friend who was a trainer, ironically, at Santa Anita, and he introduced Jude Feld is his name, and introduced me to Jude, and I started going to the barn area in high school, and got to see the locker room, if you will, the barn area, and all the men and women who worked alongside horses for a living. And I said, somewhere or another, I'm going to figure out a way to do this as a career. And so that was probably in 13, 14 years old. And then right out of high school, I jumped right in and haven't looked back.
And what was it about horses in particular that really got your passion?
I think that nonverbal dialogue, just the connection that we have with horses is just such a special connection, and it really um, it it grabbed me at a young age, and then I fell in love with it, and I love the whole community that is all the barn areas and the yards all around the world. Um, I just felt really at home being at the barn and working alongside the horses. So um, it never felt like a job, and it still doesn't feel like a job. I feel extremely grateful to be able to go to the barn and uh, and just be around all the friends and family we have at the track, and the horses. So I don't know, it's hard to explain, but just um, they give you so much. They give you everything they've got, and no complaining. Horses just don't complain. They give you everything, and it's just it's real refreshing and energizing, and something I'm extremely grateful to be part of.
And you've taken many great wins and achievements, and you've had some even greater horses. We'll start with, any conversation around yourself. We can't go without speaking about Hot Rod Charlie. Wins the 2021 Pennsylvania Derby, Louisiana Derby, then comes second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile 2020 and 2021 Kentucky Derby. Last year, he ran second in the Dubai World Cup behind the other American exporting Country Grammar, but took out the Group 2 Al Maktoum Challenge round 2. Tell us a little bit about him and, how much he meant to your career.
Yeah, High Rod Charlie was a real blue collar, hard knocking, it took him a while to figure it out. I think it wasn't until his fourth or fifth start in his life that he broke his maiden. Um, he kind of initially showed us that he might be a sprinter, and then he showed us how he might be a grass horse. Uh, he's actually a great example of the communication we have with our horses, where you're trying um, to listen to them and really um, get a feel for what's they want to do. And it wasn't until about the fifth start of his life we're like, aha, okay, 2 turns on the dirt, this is where his comfort zone is. Um, and he just brought it every time we let him over to the races. He gave 100%. And yeah, he's going to be a hard one to replace. He's standing stud now, and can't wait to see how he does there. And but yeah, he meant a lot to all of us around the barn, and a big void with him not being there, that's for sure.
And as I said in my intro, there's people that are horse trainers, and go about their work and they aspire to win these big races. And then there's the Doug O'Neills of the world that come out and they, put it all in and take out two of, arguably the biggest race in the world in the Run for the Roses in the Kentucky Derby, 2012 Kentucky Derby and the Preakness with I'll Have Another, along with the 2016 Kentucky Derby. Then you go abroad in 2003 and you win the Japan Cup with Fleet Street Dancer. Tell us a little bit about what these huge, memories and achievements meant for your career. Not only winning that first Kentucky big feature, but also the second and abroad in Japan.
Phew, yeah, it's a great racehorse will take you to places like you said, Japan, Dubai. They'll take you places you never would have dreamt of ever going. And it just you really when you see the competitiveness and the way certain horses handle high pressure situations, it's contagious. And it's you just see it from everyone at the barn, everyone in the yard. It just pumps everybody up, and they're so giving and so amazing. And each horse you just mentioned there was special in their own right. And yeah, it's hard to put into words, but they definitely give you a burst of energy that I don't know where else you can get it. You'd have to drink 12 Coca-Colas in 5 minutes or something to probably get the rush that you get when you're working alongside a horse that is willing to do everything they've got to compete at the highest level and try to get to the line first. It's amazing.
Yeah, and like I've been told that you can get therapy. It's an old analogy. You can get therapy for drinking or drugs, but for this game and for horses, there's no therapy for that kind of rush and that adrenaline. Would that be correct?
I'd be correct. The
Yeah.
therapy would probably be a retired racehorse would probably have to be the therapist for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those that you really, the horses are mirrors of us, and as you give them the compassion that we all have for the horses, they give it right back to you. And it's an amazing relationship that yeah, it'll be part of my life for the rest of my life. It's hard to explain, but horses are unbelievable.
And away from those majors in Kentucky and the Japan Cup, what are some other highlights of your career so far, or horses that have been really greatly influential in taking you? As you said, a great horse can take you around the world. So, what have been some other horses like that?
Well, horse named Lava Man. Lava Man was a horse that he's just recently retired and to old friends in Kentucky. And he ran till he was like 9 years old, and he made a lot of money, and he was part of a lot of big races. And he was just a blue collar, hard knocking horse. We had a mare named Merrifield who won the Breeders' Cup um, dirt sprint. She was just a real exceptional, tough-minded, gave you everything she had type of racehorse. Thor's Echo won the dirt sprint. Yeah, we've been blessed with a lot of good horses, and probably too many to remember. But it's you definitely hit the nail on the head with some of our top horses that we've had, and hopefully there's more to come.
And you now prepare a couple for Saudi and the DWC, which we'll talk about just now. Very impressive debut from Tallboy. Came out, was up against two that were going for either back-to-back or back-to-back-to-back on debut in the UAE. Gave it to them, handy one-length win in the Group 3 UAE 2000 Guineas. Can you tell us a little bit about him and how he came to be with you?
Yeah, it's Calumet Farms gave us him, Tallboy, and he's well named. He's a tall dude, and very competitive. He was knocking heads with some really big Bob Baffert horses here in California. He ran fourth in the Los Alamitos Futurity. So he showed that he had talent, but he was surrounding them, but having trouble punching on through here in California. And as I put a list together for the Dubai Racing Committee to look at to see who they may accept, he was one that they accepted, and I was so happy that they did. And then he obviously didn't disappoint us in this UAE Derby prep the other night. And William Buick, who's just arguably one of the best riders in the world, put him in a great position. And when he called on him, he responded well. He outran a really nice 3-year-old who ran second there. So yeah, he's an athletic, tall horse who's maturing with each start, and I love the way he carries himself. He really reaches for the wire, and I think with a little bit of luck, he needs to continue to improve. He's our Kentucky Derby, UAE Derby, Kentucky Derby horse this year. And
as you said, Shellsby isn't a slouch. So to get the win over that horse was a real effort. He now prepares for the Saudi Derby. What does his program look like for the next few months, as you said, leading into the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, he's what's so great about Dubai is the training center there is just second to none. And so with him on a daily basis, just keeping him fresh and happy, and as he matures mentally, he'll train on a synthetic track, go 1.5 miles on there daily. Then one day we'll take him down to the main track. He'll even get a turf gallop every now and then. So there's just so many different options in Dubai, and the walk from the yard to the track is about 20 minutes each way. So horses just really let down and they enjoy it. And we like to say around the barn, it's like a working vacation for men and the horses. It's just very spacious and top class there.
And so will he be focused to be kept in Dubai?
I think right now we're planning on probably training him up to the UAE Derby in Dubai, and then hopefully running a big race there, hopefully winning. And then he'll be back to the States, and he'll train up to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
And then you have Sifting Sands. He joined your stable last month from Chad Brown. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. And he's nominated for the Neom Cup and 1363 Turf Sprint. Tell us a little bit about that runner and what his program looks like.
He's a nice older horse that we're hoping will pick up his form and move forward on the dirt. So we gave him a little run on the grass. First week or two we were there in Dubai, and he ran competitively, but now we got him. We're pointing him to dirt races and the ultimate goal, which is a little bit of a Hail Mary, but we're hoping the UAE, the World Cup night, one of the big dirt races on World Cup night. So we'll still have another run or two in him before the selection committee will let us know if he's good enough. But he trains well. He's a good looking horse, got the pedigree. So now we just got to get him to find the winner circle and get us invited.
And RG's a Mendelssohn and Poetic Colt. Interesting. I want to ask why this happened, but I read up that he returned to your stable in December after being with Leandro Mora for the month of December.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Why did that?
We
Why did it occur that way? And how does he stack up? And what does his program look like going forward?
Yeah, geez, he's in the category with Tallboy. He's another one that we're excited when the selection committee approved him to come to Dubai, and so we're pointing him to the UAE Derby as well. And he's supposed to run on the 24th of February there in Dubai, and a dirt route race, and we're optimistic he can run big there. And then I had sent him to Leandro to train down in another one of our yards, and it ended up running in his name. So, but Leandro Moore is my main assistant, and he's him and I are 1 and 1A. We're a team, and he actually Leandro was in Dubai for a month. He's back here in the States, and I'm heading back to Dubai next week, and then Leandro will be there for most of March.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the final is Slow Down Andy, another colt, yet to run in the Middle East, and he's nominated for the Saudi Cup. How does he look? How's he training? And, what's the plan for him going ahead?
Slow Down Andy ran a big race in the Breeders' Cup Mile Dirt, and we gave him a little bit of time off after the race. He had a pretty long, hard campaign. And then as we were training him up for his comeback race, he just came up with a few little issues, nothing major. So he's back at the yard resting up, and we're looking for probably a summer run with him. So unfortunately, he's not going to make the race in Dubai or Saudi this year. But knowing his owner, Paul Redham, he's such he loves the sport, loves his horses, and he's never eager to retire one to the breeding shed. So I wouldn't be shocked if next year, if all goes well, we'll see Slow Down Andy in Saudi and or Dubai.
And so this season, is it a case of focusing all four or the stable representatives to Dubai rather than go to places like Bahrain, Qatar being this weekend and Saudi next weekend?
Yeah, right now we just brought a handful of horses to Dubai. So, all those Saudi and Qatar, and there's so much good racing over there. I wish we had a bigger stable. We have at times brought over 12 to 15 horses, and we're able to spread it out a little bit more. But this year we're kind of just focused on Dubai with our small little contingent. And so far we've been really happy with the results.
And how many horses do you currently have in the stable?
Right now we've got about 100 total in the stable, with a total of 6 in Dubai.
And who are some other stars outside of those four currently for the stable, that are showing what they have, and the potential is really coming through?
Yeah, it's right now we got some young horses that we're optimistic about. I'm trying to think of some of the our current horses that were stakes caliber. Yeah, it's I really think our main focus is on Tallboy, and optimistic that he can be our Kentucky Derby horse this year. So this is the time of year where we're thinking that. And then we've got a lot of nice horses, but nothing in the grade one. Well, we got a filly named Awake at Midnight, who's a daughter of Nyquist, who's a grade one placed filly that we're hoping she can break on through and win a grade one. She's a horse, ironically, she's by Nyquist, but who Paul Redham raced, and we ended up buying her at auction. So she's a horse that we bought at a sale, and she's a filly that very easily could be talked about as a Breeders' Cup filly later in the year.
And just for my own interest, you say when you say Tallboy, you're really hoping he has what it takes to get to the Kentucky Derby. As someone who's been there before and won it twice, is it something you see just randomly, or is it something you prepare for in terms of knowing, as you've said multiple times during our chat, hey, he's got the caliber of, a potential or a hopeful Kentucky Derby runner?
You go into being optimistic that you probably narrow it down to about 10 or 15 in your stable that you're hoping, okay, this horse could be a Derby kind of horse. And then they start, kind of separating themselves. So, we're not that strong this year, but I think with Tallboy, just his size, his stride, just by looking at Lucky, he's got the stamina and the pedigree, and just mentally, even though he's a little bit immature and he's still figuring it out, he's mentally tough. That here's a horse that shipped from California to Dubai and settled right in and jumped right in and won a prep race. So that to me was super impressive, and it tells me that he's got what it takes to win a race like the Derby that can be so overwhelming and high pressure for the horses with 150,000 people there going nuts, and they need to keep their composure and stay calm. And he's got the mindset, I think, to handle all that.
And just talking about the occasion that is the Kentucky Derby, what would it be like to win a third Kentucky Derby for yourself? And as the boy from Michigan, growing up and 12, 13, realizing that this is what you wanted to do and there was no other option. What does the day-to-day grind that you go through wanting to get back to those big races and obviously compete and take the spoils mean to Doug O'Neill?
But honestly, I've it would be incredible to win a third Derby, of course, but just the day in, day out, working with the horses and being competitive in any race is just something that I always dreamt about, and I can't believe that I'm actually able to live it. So as much as winning another Derby would be insanely incredible, just winning a race at Santa Anita racetrack on any given Friday, Saturday, Sunday is equally incredible. So it's just it's a bond that you get with your fellow employees there at the barn, working with the horses, and with each and every horse, you put all you got into them, and have them compete at the level that fits them. And when they're giving everything they got coming down the lane, you just feel so just no better feeling knowing that you're working alongside them to get them to the best of their potential. So yeah, it's we definitely want to win another Derby, but if I don't, I'll be completely happy with the way things have unfolded for sure.
And in the time you've been training, if there was the lesson that you've learned that's really held you in great stead, for your success and for your career, what would that lesson be?
Just being patient, being, it's you take care of the horse will take care of you. So I think sometimes as a younger trainer, you might feel a little pressure to get the horses out there competing maybe before they're mentally ready. So I think just as you get longer in the tooth, just being patient, listening to your horse, talking to the owners of the horse, and the fact that the horses don't talk, you got to be their voice, and you got to share with their connections that we just need a little bit more time. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned is just being patient, and whatever it's meant to be will happen, and trying to force it doesn't do anyone any good.
And we've circled back to where we began in the interview. As you said, a great horse will take you anywhere in the world for, the big races, or as you said, another Friday night at Santa Anita. If there was a race you could really compete in and win at home or abroad, what race would that be in terms of, ticking that off the bucket list?
Well, I'll tell you, your hometown, Australia, would be on my bucket list. You know, the fact that it's a national holiday is so awesome to me. I love that mindset and that the vibe that must go along with the big day there in Australia. So that's a country I haven't been to, and racing that I so badly want to see and be part of one day. So it's not an easy journey, and I know I've talked to a few people about what it would be like to try to take a horse from the States to Australia, and you don't see it very often because it's so challenging, right? But one day that would be something that would be something I would love to do, and here back home, you know, winning the Breeders' Cup Classic would be exceptional, and then in Dubai, winning the Dubai World Cup would be on my bucket list. So those would probably be the top three that would be bucket list things as far as horse racing goes.
And I just need to say, as a boy growing up as a huge horse racing fan into a horse racing journalist, the day Doug O'Neill saddles a runner in the Melbourne Cup, I'll hang it up because that'll be a great day. Thanks so much, Doug. This has been really great.
Great. Thanks for having me, Ron. Take care.
Cheers so much. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.